Russia's power doesn't come from Moscow. Most of what you see on maps, the wars, the politics, the cities, happens here in European Russia. But this is what makes Russia survive. 10 million square kilometers, larger than the entire United States. Napoleon didn't fail in Moscow. He failed here. Hitler didn't lose at Stalingrad. He lost to this. And this is why Russia can wage war in Ukraine, even under the heaviest sanctions in history. This is Siberia. And without it, Russia doesn't exist. Before armies move and before governments decide, geography decides everything. And nowhere on Earth is geography more dominant, more brutal, more decisive than in Siberia. Stretching over 10 million square kilometers, 77% of Russia's territory, Siberia is not a region. It is a continent inside a country. A frozen empire of permafrost, tundra, taiga, and endless steppe, extending from the Ural Mountains to the Pacific Ocean, spanning 11 time zones. Its climate is unforgiving, winters of -40 degrees Celsius, summers invaded by swarms of insects, landscapes where only 20% of Russia's population survives. Buildings stand on stilts above frozen ground that never thaws. But this emptiness is not a weakness. For Russia, it is strategic depth, an invisible shield that no invader from the West has ever conquered. Throughout history, Siberia has functioned as Russia's ultimate insurance policy. When European invaders marched from the West, from Napoleon to Hitler, Russia survived not by winning early battles, but by retreating into a vastness that swallowed armies whole. And today, as Russia wages war in Ukraine, Siberia once again shows why the country cannot survive without it. Beneath its frozen soil lie 80% of Russia's natural resources. The oil, natural gas, coal, metals, timber, and rare minerals that fund its military, sustain its energy dominance over Europe, and allow Moscow to resist Western sanctions. The depth of Siberia also hosts strategic military infrastructure, missile systems, nuclear production sites, air bases, and rail corridors that connect the Arctic, China, and Europe. This landscape protects Russia from collapse, and it explains why the war in Ukraine, no matter how costly, does not cripple the state the way many predicted. Because Russia is not just Moscow or St. Petersburg or the Donbass front. Russia is Siberia, a geographic giant that provides space, resources, and time. And in this documentary, we will uncover why this land of ice and silence is the real engine behind Russia's survival, its power, and its plans for the future. Siberia is not a single land. It is a giant mosaic of regions so different from each other that a traveler can go from swamp to Arctic tundra without leaving the same map. To understand why Russia cannot survive without Siberia, even during the war in Ukraine, we must first divide this immensity by function: energy, minerals, strategic reserve, and projection toward Asia. Number 1. Western Siberia, Russia's energy hearthland. Western Siberia is the Kremlin's jewel. Here lie Russia's largest oil and natural gas deposits, from the fields of Yamalo-Nenets to the reserves that feed pipelines toward Europe and China. 70% of Russian gas and over 50% of its oil come from this region. These exports generate over $200 billion annually, finance the state, sustain the military budget, and allow Moscow to maintain its geopolitical machinery, even during the war in Ukraine. Without Western Siberia, Russia could sustain neither its economy nor its army. Number 2. Central Siberia, the empire of minerals and rivers. Hidden within the endless taiga are some of the planet's most strategic resources: nickel, palladium, gold, uranium, copper, coal, aluminum. The giant Norilsk, which produces 40% of the world's palladium, is one of the largest and most polluted mining complexes on Earth, generating metals essential for high-tech industries and defense. In addition, the great rivers, Ob, Yenisei, and Lena, act as natural highways that cross thousands of kilometers, moving goods where there are no roads. This region is Russia's hidden industrial base. Number 3. Eastern Siberia. Mountains, Baikal, and the Strategic Reserve. Here lies Lake Baikal, with 23,000 cubic kilometers of water, more than all the Great Lakes of North America combined. The planet's largest freshwater reserve, a resource more strategic today than ever. Eastern Siberia also offers isolation, natural refuges, and territorial depth. In military terms, this is the zone where Russia can retreat, disperse forces, and survive a prolonged clash with the West. Number 4. The Far East. The gateway to Asia-Pacific. The final stretch of the map is key for the 21st century. Ports like Vladivostok, Russia's only deepwater port on the Pacific, and routes toward China, Korea, and Japan turn this region into Russia's economic valve toward the Pacific. China invests here because it understands a simple truth: whoever controls Siberia controls the resources of the future. Western Siberia looks, on the map, like an endless flat space, a low, swampy plain stretching between the Ural Mountains and the Yenisei River. But beneath this quiet landscape lies the real engine of Russia's power. This is the West Siberian Plain, one of the largest continuous lowlands on Earth. For centuries, it was seen as a frozen, empty backwater, a land of rivers, marshes, and permafrost. Today, it is something else. The core of Russia's oil and gas empire, centered on 3 names most have never heard of: Tyumen, Khanty-Mansisk, and Yamalo-Nenets, home to over 70% of Russia's gas production, tap thousands of wells into gigantic reservoirs of hydrocarbons buried deep under the taiga and tundra. Here, in the middle of the swamp, are names that rarely appear in headlines, but quietly shape global energy markets. Over 250,000 kilometers of pipelines snake out of Western Siberia like arteries from a heart. For decades, they carried gas and oil westward, toward Europe, heating homes in Germany, fueling industry in Italy, and giving the Kremlin enormous leverage over the continent. After the invasion of Ukraine, many of those links were cut or sanctioned. But the fields are still there, and Moscow is racing to redirect that flow eastward, through projects like Power of Siberia 2, toward China and Asia, rather than turning off the tap. In Western Siberia, geography and geology work together. The flat relief makes pipeline construction easier. The vast space allows for infrastructure hidden far from any border. The harsh climate keeps population low, less than 15 million people across millions of square kilometers. But strategic value high. Without this region, Russia would lose much more than export revenue. It would lose the financial backbone that supports its state budget, its military, and its ability to withstand pressure from the West. In peace and in war, Western Siberia is not a headline. It is something more important: the invisible landscape that keeps the Russian state alive. Krasnoyarsk, the Empire of Metal. Siberia is not just vastness, ice, and silence. It is power, industrial, energetic, and mineral. At the center of that power lies the Krasnoyarsk Krai, an immense region where extreme geography, imperial history, Soviet science, and the metals that make the modern world possible all converge. Here begins our story of why Siberia matters, both in Russia's war in Ukraine and in the global economy. Krasnoyarsk Krai is a land of contrasts: jagged mountains, deep canyons, endless taiga forests, and the majestic Yenisei River, the axis that links Siberia to the Arctic. Along its banks, the city of Krasnoyarsk was founded in 1628 at the confluence of the Kacha and the Yenisei. What early explorers once described as a beautiful steep riverbank soon became a strategic outpost in Russia's expansion toward the Far East. The discovery of gold in the 19th century and the arrival of the Trans-Siberian Railway in 1895 pulled the city out of isolation, turning it into a vital node of the empire. But its true transformation began under the Soviet Union. After the Bolshevik Revolution, Krasnoyarsk became one of the industrial pillars of the Soviet Union. Massive factories, scientific centers, and the colossal Krasnoyarsk Dam, Russia's second largest, rose here, symbols of the Soviet drive to dominate nature itself. Today, Krasnoyarsk is the third largest city in Siberia, a major port on the Yenisei, and the gateway to the strategic resources of the north, the metals of the Arctic. Even its natural reserves, such as Stolby and Ergaki, long served as natural barriers that isolated communities and helped conceal critical industries. That remoteness made the region ideal for projects the state preferred to keep hidden from the outside world. No example is more striking than Norilsk. Hundreds of kilometers farther north, beyond the Arctic Circle, Norilsk stands atop one of the richest metal deposits on Earth. It is the domain of Norilsk Nickel, heir to the Soviet industrial legacy and a key player in global geoeconomics. From here comes a crucial share of the world's nickel, palladium, and platinum, metals essential for catalytic converters, semiconductors, electric vehicle batteries, and aerospace and military technologies. Your phone, your computer, your car, all carry a trace of Siberia. Norilsk is, quite literally, a point on the map where the industrial power of the 21st century is mined. Baikal, water, land, and the future. At the eastern edge of Siberia, where the federal district meets Russia's far east, stretches the Irkutsk Oblast, gateway to one of Russia's most strategic territories, Lake Baikal, the largest reservoir of fresh water on the planet. Irkutsk, its historic capital built along the banks of the Angara River, the only river that flows out of Baikal, has for centuries served as a key access point to this crucial region of the Russian Empire. The Angara, flowing northward until it joins the Yenisei system, is more than a tributary. It is an artery linking Baikal to Siberia's energetic core. This entire zone forms part of the backbone that sustains the Russian economy through water, inland routes, navigability, and hydroelectric power. Lake Baikal, located roughly 70 kilometers from Irkutsk, is not merely a natural wonder. It is geostrategic infrastructure. A vast 1,642-meter-deep reservoir that stores more fresh water than all 5 of North America's Great Lakes combined. In an era of sanctions and global competition, control over a resource of this magnitude means stability and autonomy. Baikal also functions as a crucial ecological node, regulating regional climates, supporting unique food chains, and maintaining the environmental balance of vast Siberian territories. It is an irreplaceable asset for Russia's water security and ecological resilience. Its more than 2,100 kilometers of shoreline combine beaches, mountains, and forests, hosting one of the oldest and most diverse ecosystems on Earth. This natural isolation also shaped its history. Baikal and its surrounding lands served as cultural and defensive frontiers, a home to Buryat, Evenki, and Mongolic-rooted communities integrated into the Russian world without losing their identity. Along the route to Baikal lies Taltsi, an open-air museum preserving traditional wooden architecture that recalls Russia's expansion eastward. Further south, Ulan-Ude, the capital of Buryatia, marks the intersection of Siberia with the Mongolic and Tibetan Buddhist world, bound to Moscow through imperial alliances and trade networks. Buryatia also shelters another natural bastion, the Sayan Mountains, covered in conifers, glaciers, and alpine meadows. Beyond their beauty, they form a protective belt that historically acted as a frontier, a refuge, and a barrier, shielding communities and safeguarding essential resources. Altai, the hinge between civilizations. In the heart of Asia, where Russia, Mongolia, China, and Kazakhstan meet, rises one of Eurasia's most strategic yet least understood regions. The Altai, whose Mongolian name means Golden Mountains. More than a natural treasure, the Altai is a historical bridge, a living frontier, and a crossroads where trade routes, imperial spheres, and ancient cultures collide. Thanks to its unique position, it functions as a true hinge between civilizations. The Russian Siberian world, the Mongolian steppe, Turkic Central Asia, and the expanding power of China. The Altai mountain range, stretching roughly 2,000 kilometers diagonally across the region, separates entire ecosystems. To the south opens the vast dry Mongolian steppe. To the north lies the deep Siberian taiga. Its highest peak, Mount Beluga, 4,506 meters, dominates a network of valleys through which nomadic riders, merchant caravans, and imperial armies traveled for centuries. These mountains are not merely a physical boundary. Since the 18th century, they have served as a natural shield, crucial to Russia's defense of its southern frontier. The Altai is also a strategic resource hub. Its watersheds feed essential rivers such as the Katun, whose valley hosts the only active geyser field in the northern hemisphere outside of Iceland. The region holds hydroelectric potential, critical minerals, extensive forests, and abundant fresh water. All of this makes the Altai an energetic and ecological asset that Russia cannot afford to neglect amid rising competition with China and increasing tensions across Eurasia. Its landscapes range from UNESCO World Heritage mountain zones to the golden steppes of Kulunda, homeland of Turkic and Mongolic peoples, who, according to tradition, descend from steppe warriors and clans linked to the legacy of Genghis Khan Lake Telitskoye, the Pearl of the Altai, with its turquoise waters surrounded by untouched forests, underscores the region's ecological and hydrological value. Today, as Russia seeks to reinforce its presence in Central Asia, the Altai remains far more than a remote landscape. It is a corridor, a barrier, and a reservoir of resources connecting Russian influence with the Mongolian, Chinese, and Kazakh worlds. Primorye, Russia's gateway to the Pacific. In the far southeast of the Russian map, where Siberia stops looking toward the Arctic and opens to the ocean, lies Primorye Krai, the point where Russia connects with the Asia-Pacific basin, the economic core of the 21st century. Its long coastline along the Sea of Japan and Peter the Great Gulf is not just scenery. It is a strategic platform from which Russia trades, projects power, and maintains its naval presence in a region dominated by China, Japan, and South Korea. Vladivostok, the regional capital, embodies that shift. Founded in 1860 as an imperial naval outpost, it later became the terminus of the Trans-Siberian Railway, the bridge linking the Baltic to the Pacific today. It is Russia's principal port on the Pacific Ocean and home to the Pacific Fleet, essential for balancing China's expanding maritime influence and the persistent U.S. presence in East Asia. Its hilltop layout, suspension bridges, and Golden Horn Bay have earned it the nickname Russia's San Francisco, but its role is unmistakably strategic. It is Moscow's window into the markets and rivalries of the Asia-Pacific. The city blends Russian and Asian culture, cross-border commerce, and port infrastructure that maintains daily connections with South Korea, Japan, and northern China landmarks, such as the Russky Bridge, one of the longest cable-stayed bridges in the world. The Oceanarium and its coastal parks reflect Russia's ambition to transform the Far East into an economic pole of its own. Farther north stretches Sakhalin Oblast, Russia's largest island, shaped by volcanoes, black sand beaches, dense forests, and waters inhabited by belugas, gray seals, and Steller's sea eagles. Part of the Kuril archipelago, Sakhalin combines tourism, industrial fishing, energy resources, and a cultural blend influenced by its shared history with Japan. Its capital, Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk, serves as both administrative center and a hub for winter sports and maritime operations. Together, Primorye and Sakhalin form Russia's axis into the Asia-Pacific, a commercial, military, and diplomatic corridor from which Moscow seeks to compete for influence in Northeast Asia and secure its position in one of the most decisive regions for global power in the 21st century. At the edge of Siberia, where Russia meets the Pacific, lies an island that rarely appears on world maps, yet carries an outsized share of the country's power. Sakhalin, isolated, cold, and swept by harsh winds from the Sea of Okhotsk, Sakhalin is more than a remote frontier. It is one of Russia's most strategic energy platforms, a place where geography, resources, and geopolitics collide with extraordinary force. Beneath its waters lie reserves estimated at over 1 billion barrels of oil and 2.7 trillion cubic meters of gas, some of the richest offshore fields in the entire Russian Federation. It is here that Russia built two of its most important energy megaprojects, Sakhalin Mir and Sakhalin II. These projects, once operated by ExxonMobil and Shell, became essential to fueling Russia's economy and supplying Asian markets from Japan to South Korea and China. After the Ukraine war reshaped global energy flows, Sakhalin's role only grew. As Europe sought alternatives to Russian gas, Moscow redirected its strategy eastward, and Sakhalin became one of the main pillars of that pivot. But Sakhalin is not only about energy. It sits at the heart of Asia's most frozen territorial dispute. Just 50 kilometers south lies Japan, the world's fourth largest economy, which still claims the Kuril Islands, a chain stretching from Hokkaido to Kamchatka, specifically the four southernmost islands, seized by the Soviet Union in 1945. The proximity of Sakhalin to this disputed zone makes the island a silent player in one of Asia's most sensitive territorial rivalries. For Russia, holding Sakhalin and the Kurils means projecting power deep into the Pacific. For Japan, it is a reminder that energy and security in Northeast Asia are intimately connected. In the broader landscape of Siberia, Sakhalin is the farthest frontier, but also the clearest symbol of Russia's long-term strategy: to survive by controlling resources, commanding the seas, and anchoring its power on the edges of the map. Here, at the end of the continent, Siberia's story meets the Pacific, and Russia's future stretches into Asia. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Leave your reflections below, subscribe to the Geography channel for more geopolitical explorations, and share this video to expand the discussion. See you next time in our ongoing journey through history, power, and place.